See, now, these are the moments we look for, folks. I love these opportunities, right? So far on this channel, we've always been stroking the egos and sniffing the underwear of the people like G-Wei, of Dao, oh, the amazing, the Viper. But these are the moments that I look for. It's always fun when we get to feature new names on the channel. And that's exactly what we're doing here, right? Neither of these have been seen so far. And one of them you might notice if you're an Age of Empires fan and follow the AoE 2 ecosystem. RiskyDice, of course, his alternate ID is more known one. In fact, his chart, he's regarded fairly widely as the best Japanese AoE 2 pro on the market, which, you know, he doesn't really have the earnings to show for it. Hopefully that's something we see pick up in AoE 4, just a global presence instead of what I feel like is quite often seen as more kind of a honed in towards Europe focus of AoE 2. That's not to say there's not people around the world that can compete, but I definitely think the EU region is regarded the strongest, I think it would be fair to say. But let's stop talking about RiskyDice, because his opponent is an interesting one as well. Neptune, who is playing in the red as China here, up against Delhi. This guy is just suddenly hiked up into the top 20 out of nowhere, but he's been grinding hard. This guy is sitting at 1,672 rating, 16th on the leaderboards, and here's the impressive part, folks. 396 games played already. For comparison, nobody, and I mean nobody, in the top 30 compare that. I have to go down to 34, and then it says Lamil with 445. So you can see, this man, he'd be hard on the grind. So I thought it'd be cool to feature him and see what's making him so special. Because win rate, he's hiking up gradually, slowly, but methodically, right? He's at 57%, he's still in the positive, he's still on the rise. And he's playing as China against Delhi. So there's just layers upon layers of what's going to make this interesting. Because, of course, anyone who frequents Age of Empires, anyone who checks out the big streams, everything else, they're starting to see a lot of these pros, these high-level players, kind of pivot into these less played civs, right, such as Delhi and China. Seems like they're finally ready to solve that puzzle, because in a lot of ways, maybe it's just they got bored of France, Mongols, or maybe they're like sitting there going, okay, if the format's going to be we have to play a different civ every time, we go higher count, obviously we're going to have to cover these bases. So let's find out what makes these civs tick. And I find this a especially interesting matchup, because while we frequently see one or the other, we rarely ever see both. But what we are seeing both do right now is get on the water early. You can already see the scout moves in from RiskyDice. He's going to snipe out this village that Neptune sent out. But that doesn't matter. He did at least get his dock down first. He is behind in terms of build-up on the water. You can already see RiskyDice. Chart moved out quickly here. He's already up to 3 fishing ships, and his opponent is only sitting on 1. So China already is a distinct disadvantage there. And it's surprising, really. I think part of this comes down to potentially like the map spawn. I mean, I think Chart didn't even take the shortest route. If he went north, he would have been on the water even quicker. So you can't even argue that detail. So really, they should have been kind of on the water around the same time. Because the thing to consider here is that Neptune, he builds quicker, right? China has a quicker build rate on their buildings. It's one of their perks. I will say one small factor to consider is this, right? Is that due to the mosque, I do believe, I think it's 100 wood difference. Yeah, I think Delhi starts with either 50 or 100 wood extra. So that might have been why he was on the water so much quicker. It's the small detail you should never overlook. And it's also something I think we regularly forget about when we talk about these matchups, is like sometimes the build order will be different, even on the eco side, because certain factions like Rus, or I believe Mongols as well, get more wood than other factions. Like I think England gets a little bit less. I think wood is the main factor that changes. There might be a little bit of food difference with one faction, but that's going to be a cool point to consider in future patches, by the way, whether they start to balance civs openings around that opening resource generation they have. Like, for example, if we were to say, if we were to move France's starting goal to 0, how much would that change the early rush? I think France would still be a strong civ. I just hope that isn't the way they go to balance it. I think there's better ways to balance that civ, but could be interesting to see as the game develops. So far, no second dock coming out. Enough wood to sustain 1, and 2 ships still being maintained in terms of lead for Chart. But it seems like the gap is closed. Neptune is catching up a little bit here. And in terms of advantages, I'm trying to remember if either of these had an advantage on the water. I think it's, yeah, so your fishing boats, that's right. Chart, because he's playing Delhi, their fishing boats can fire on your enemy. And look, that's what he's doing! He sends them over. Oh, this is so smart. I was about to say, I wonder if he's going to try this harassment, because, right, this is the advantage you have as Delhi. Everyone's always talking about how weak Delhi seems to be, but there is a lot of cool aspects to this faction in the early game, right? Whether it's harassment on water in Tech 1 before we even go feudal, or if you're talking about aiming for these early palisade timings around the sacred sites to generate gold. But this right here is going to burn Neptune's economy. China's going to feel the pain here. And also, by the way, this scout has just been slowly working on trying to burn down this dock. It's going to take a while, but oh, the Villi is going to back off just in time. That being said, that's the fishing fleet gone. And yeah, he has teched up, so he'll go for a junk now. But honestly, if I'm Chart, I just back off after I kill this ship. You can't get the other ones, but there's no way you're going to stay here to siege, right? If you stay to siege, you're just damaging your own economy because you're not gathering still. Like, you've done decent damage here. So yeah, he'll back off, come back across to his side, continue to gather up, and I believe he is almost there on the tech up, yeah. So he's a little bit behind. He's going for the Dome of Faith. This is, of course, the one that lets you spam out scholars at half the price. And this suggests that he's going to be playing for those early sacred sites. Remember, the Delhi Sultanate do have a research that allows them to get additional gold treacle. Most factions get 100 gold treacle per sacred site controlled. They can boost that up. They can increase it much further. So we'll probably play around that. Of course, to do that, the other research you do have to get is you can get an ability so that your scholars can take these sacred sites in feudal. But he will need to build a mosque to do that. In terms of wood, he definitely has the quantity required. But now he's made the tech up, he should be able to counter out this harassment coming out from the junk ship. Remember, junk ships are pretty tanky, but look at the Zerg. He's just going to micro this. This is actually really smart. So now Neptune has to back off completely. I think there was a bit of a miss micro there, actually, as RiskyDice didn't even try and bank it. And I think can they actually chase this down? I think they're too slow. Yeah, 1.5 to 1.5, so they wouldn't be able to catch it. Second junk gets forced out of Neptune, but this should be where defenses come on the water, and you see he's going for the Dow ships. Remember, the Dow ships are a little bit weaker than the junks in a direct fire-on-fire engagement, but they are less situational in that, for example, when you run away with the Dow archer ships, they'll still be able to fire on targets. As you saw from China there, the moment that he turned the junk around to run away, he couldn't fire back anymore, as they are. As you can see, oh, I can't even show it now, it's not even showing. But they're directional fire forward, basically. But we didn't even talk about what Neptune went for. We didn't really need to. I feel like we've seen this 1,000,001 times over. Everyone and their mum goes to the Barbican in the sun. It's a good defensive opening. It allows you to go more greedy on the eco, and China really is kind of this eco-booming nation. It's not that they can't be present military-wise straight into feudal if you hang around and go back for the Palace Guard. But like even then, when I say hang around, go back for the Palace Guard, right? That means you're going to have to build a second landmark. So you need to get that extra income from somewhere. And the income being put to use. He didn't stop producing junks. I thought he maybe would just defend himself, but look at this quantity. Neptune is hoarding all this wood right now. And it's paying off. He's not even going to lose one of these junk ships. He's going to actually burn the fleet. Okay, this is already a fun match to watch. I thought for a second it was just going to be one player pushing the other out of the water completely, but no. And these archer ships will try to go and interrupt Neptune's eco line, but they won't be able to do enough damage quickly. They will at least distract, you'd think, but look at this split. Neptune only sends a few of his ships back to defend his own docks, and then chokes in control on the center lake. And remember, we said, this map, in a lot of ways, is frustrating, and I don't know if I'd say it's what I call a very competitively viable map, because genuinely I feel like a lot of these games is decided by who gets center base in control. And right now, it looks like Neptune is the lad with full control here, as the Dow fleet will just be burned, no new ships being built. I love this move up here if he's planning to continue it. Like, you can see he's already got this scout up here. What I really want to see out of Chart right now is him walk these workers all the way up to the top and build a dock here, and he will be the only one controlling this. We've seen this strategy used before, right? I believe it was the Viper Doubt game where I believe Viper went on all three of the water areas and just farmed all three of them. Just understanding that his opponent would have to hard commit to get him off one at a time. But instead, no, he's actually going for the racks. So it looks like Chart's going to get super aggressive early on. And remember, we talked, there's no military infrastructure just yet for Neptune, but as we mentioned that, look at this, the trip stable drop. So he's going to go for a mobile force. Interesting choice against Delhi, who I'd say, as an opener, are more likely to spam out Spearmen early on because they just want to get those cheap buildings out is one of the potential reasons for the Palisade in, but not going that way at all. So instead, we'd like to see a Horseman spam probably coming out of Neptune. He's not ready for a landmark upgrade anytime soon. In fact, his income per minute on food right now is non-existent. This is rebuilding the fishing fleet. But there's actually zero fish. Okay, I'm kind of speechless right now. So Chart's all in then. So he hasn't built on the backwater. He hasn't built on his opponent's backwater. He has gone for a trip racks up front here, which means he has to win in the next 7 minutes. Because he's not preventing this eco from being gathered in the center water, and he's not actually getting himself a secondary eco line right now. And in fact, in terms of TCs, he hasn't double TC boomed at all. He's going for Compound of the Defender now, so he's going to get that out. So now he can build stone walls. Is he going for the stone wall in? Because if he is, it's too late. The Horseman already scouting this out. Yeah, and he's trying to upgrade to the spears as well. So Horseman going to start coming out. Remember, 3 of these are producing. They're not producing consistently at the moment. Neptune is saving up some of his food. I wonder if he's considering just trying to go for the tech up now that he sees the trip barracks down. That is a possibility. In the meantime, the docks are almost gone. Still going to take some time, but they're not any use now. Like, you're never getting back on the water here. It's too late. Maybe 20 minutes from now, but I don't know. When you make this trip racks forward play, I don't know if you're playing for 20 minutes. You're definitely playing for the now. And even the blacksmith now going down. So moving into the stealth forest, trying to gang bush, but not going to be able to. No harassment back in his base. But like we said, remember, chart, this has to work. If his opponent repels him and burns this entire base, his eco scaling is non-existent, in my opinion. He made it up to tech 3, which was really impressive, right? But if I was to compare the two, like, I'm pretty sure income per minute, yeah, Neptune's ahead on food by a vast amount, wood as well. Gold's the only thing that chart is beating him right now. And he can use that to get out some men at arms. That's the positive. But the problem is because you aren't supplementing your food income, right, with the water, you're not going to easily be able to keep spamming out infantry from all 3 of these racks consistently, I feel. Military force moving in. Woodline is exposed. He's going to lose a few of these villages here, actually, yeah. We're trying to move him away, but one goes down. Won't be able to find more. And there's the construction. So astronomical clock tower. Perfect solution as well. Going for the siege weapons, just 1 or 2 of these Nesta Bees against slow static infantry will just completely decimate Chart's forces, right? And you only need a small contingent of horsemen to then chase down the stragglers as they retreat. So really important, if I'm Chart, that I try and actually get some infrastructure damage in the next minute. He has to know that this upgrade is occurring, right? If he only saw 3 horsemen and he hasn't seen anything else, he has to assume his opponent is going for tech 3. The problem is, he has no way of countering it. He has no way of stopping it. And once you're talking about this tech 3, once they're on equal grounds, like we already highlighted, you know, Neptune, his economy is almost doubling up dices at this stage. Yeah, you can see it. It's getting a little bit silly now. So with that now complete, you can raise heat, spamming out the spring ults. Remember, they take no time at all. 10 seconds to get out. And this is a quality solution to the men-at-arms, right? So he sees his opponent is trickling in. He hasn't actually got a bulk force that would require these Nesta Beasts. So instead, he goes for the value spring ults to start sniping them out 1 by 1. He's losing a little bit of his Villi line here. So harassment is frustrating coming out of Chart. But now Neptune, once he gets like 3 of these spring ults, I feel like the whole move Chart's attempting here is countered, right? Like, these men-at-arms have 155 health. Spring ults hit for 60 each, long-range snipes. It doesn't take long to get through these armored opponents. And this is the worry, right? Once you get 3, maybe 4 of these spring ults, if you ever have to run away, the chase down from the horseman will execute your army. And remember, similar investment, by the way. Horseman, 100 food, 20 wood. 100 food, 20 gold for each of these man-at-arms. And he's building man-at-arms in mass, more than spears, right? And the spears are what will counter these horsemen. The problem is, if he goes for the spears, they die even quicker to the springwood fire. It's a really problematic scenario. And Neptune, I mean, he's got control of this water. What's the next move? Is he going to look to full base and then just attack his opponent's eco? Or does he just feel comfortable to wait this out, slowly get up to in-page, and then essentially make Chart feel like the game is over, right? Because I think that's where we're heading at the moment. Unless you can get a siege force up quickly. But the problem you now have is I think this was maybe the idea, especially with this blacksmith, right, is get your hands on siege engineering. But now that you see springles being built, how the hell can you field a battering ram army? I don't think you can anymore. I'm pretty sure you get up to 4 or 5 springles and then you're so comfortable that there's nothing left that Chart can do. Oh my god, oh my god. Oh, guys, this is why China isn't renowned for its fishing economy in the modern age, is because they drained all of their seas in the medieval times, apparently. Good lord. 21 already. Yeah, and he's comfortable as can be. Moves out, spring ults. Dangerous location, although these spring ults move pretty quick. I'm trying to, there is something really dicey with these. So the reason that spring ults sometimes move quicker, I think is when you select cavalries alongside it, and then you change the formation location, they turn, they steer, like you're seeing it right now. He's steering to get away quicker. He should be moving much slower than he is when he initially evades that. That being said, he's blocking his boys in, trying to repair him. So one Spiral's going to go down. Second one will break through. And the tax official just throwing cash at the enemy, trying to bribe them to leave this Springald alone, but it will be sniped. Huge damage done there, actually. I'm surprised Neptune pushed up with such a small frontline force. Pays the price as well. So he needs to rebuild his Springalds again. Instead, though, he was researching, I believe it was actually the movement speed. So shame he didn't wait for that before going in, as he lost most of his Springalds. More horsemen being spammed out. Remember, they're just the cannon fodder for the Springalds that are coming through. And racks are going down, so he understands that he needs to kind of match the man-at-arms, because then he can cause a slog that allows him to win on the back of having Springalds. The problem he now has is, look at this. Because of that mistake, Chart is now able to start building into Springalds, and he's not at a disadvantage anymore. Huge error coming out from Neptune here. Small being chased down again. This time it's fast enough. Remember, it's up to 1.2 now. Moves actually quicker than these man-at-arms at 1.12, so he's actually safe and comfortable now. So this is where it gets weird a little bit for Chart. If he cannot keep the Springal spam up, he's going to be in trouble. And because they're matching in terms of wood and gold income, in fact, no, they're not. Look at Neptune, up 3 times the amount of gold incoming to him. There's definitely going to be an advantage going the way of Neptune. Remember also, these Springalds that come out of the clock tower, they have additional health, 50% extra, in fact. So back off now. Chart needs to reassess his plan. Springald trying to build them out as quickly as possible. I just don't know if they're coming out quick enough. Like, remember, this regular workshop, it takes 30 seconds, right? Let's look at the clock tower again. Oh, look at that. 10 seconds. That seems reasonable. No, that's not reasonable, guys. Not in the current context. In the world before a nerf to Springalds happens, which I guarantee you it's coming. There is no way in hell they're going to stay this strong. But in the meantime, yeah, they are. Springalds trying to back up, snipe out another Springald. Down to 1 for Chart, and he's going to lose it in a sec. Although at the moment, they are actually targeting the infantry. He's just ignoring the Springalds. The thing is, these are so tanky, he can actually still trade fairly well against 2 of them. That being said, if he moved a little bit into the stealth forest, I don't think the Springald would even see him to regularly hit it. But now, there it is, the Palace Guards. This is where it gets problematic, and this is where he has to retreat. So man-at-arms a lot weaker than the Palace Guard, and also Palace Guard having the same amount of health. I say that actually, I think the tech upgrades-wise, Chart is ahead in that regard. But the crossbowmen now coming out. This is the problem. He hasn't got enough military infrastructure here to diversify. So every transition is much quicker for Neptune to a different unit type, as he's now starting to spam out a few crossbowmen alongside these man-at-arms. Push back. Chart. What's the move now? So he finally got in the water, so he's finally utilizing this back eco. He hasn't utilized his own back eco yet. I don't think either of them are going for a tech up. The thing I will give credit to so far for Chart is, remember, like, all the pressure has been onto Neptune's base, but that means, like, all your military presence has been up here, right? That's the only reason that's the case. So your whole infrastructure, if it burns here, is going to be super costly. Push through on the Springalds, and they'll get both of them. And now the movement in from Neptune Springalds will be able to snipe out these infantry one by one. You can see another racks going down, but I don't know what you do now as Chart. I think you're outnumbered. Yeah, you can see the man-at-arms being overwhelmed now. New Springalds not coming out quick enough. And I think the army is going to be spent in a matter of moments here. Can you even come back into this now? I don't think you have the economy. I don't think you have the infrastructure here. I think this might be it. As he's even producing anymore? New racks down, not producing. No new siege coming out at all. Yeah, I think this is just death by Springalds. Death by Springalds is too strong, guys. He calls it. China takes it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of the Clock Tower Siege.